Hello and welcome to this look at the newly released Affinity Photo version 2. I will be looking at the PC version, but the Mac version should be the same. This is my second look at the more basic functions of Affinity Photo 2, rather than the major updates and new features. The video is aimed at those new to Affinity Photo 2 and more importantly those upgrading from Affinity Photo 1. As I mentioned in my first look at the basic functions in the update of Affinity Photo 2. Affinity Photo version 2 is a program in its own right, so it doesn't overwrite version 1. This means that when you install it, you will have both versions of Affinity Photo on your computer. You can keep both versions or uninstall version 1. I would advise not uninstalling version 1 until you have checked you have all settings, just as you want them in version 2. When version 2 was installing, I got a dialog box that asked if I wanted to transfer in the settings from version 1. I of course said yes to this. I have found that things like brushes, swatches, macros and styles did port over from version 1 to version 2. But things like keyboard shortcuts and adjustment presets haven't ported over. I looked at getting the keyboard shortcuts in the last video, a link to that tutorial will be in the description for this video. The aim of this tutorial is to highlight some of the changes in version 2 from version 1. Mainly looking at the basic changes to brushes, swatches, layer adjustments, and layer effects. But first I do want to say that I have altered my studio panels on the right of the interface. So don't worry if yours is different to mine, if you are still using the default layout. You can open or close any studio via the window menu. Plus move studios around to where you want them to be. First off, let's look at the brushes. When version 2 had finished installing, I looked at the list of available categories of brush heads. I was pleased to note, they had all transferred over from version 1. But I did note that next to each brush head entry there was now an icon. These icons were some link chains or, what looks like, a briefcase. Many entries had no icon next to them at all. I looked in the help files but could not see an explanation for these icons. My best guess is, the brush heads with a chain link are those that are default brush heads. Everybody has at least the default brushes. Those with the briefcase icon are brush heads, are those brought from Serif and downloaded via your account. Those with no icon are the ones you have made yourself or have got from another source, like from the internet or a friend. I do have some duplicate entries, which I think is because I have some brush heads transferred over from version 1, some of which were got from Serif. Plus, when version 2 was installed, I downloaded items from my Serif account. Which is why entries like Dream Photography 2 has 2 entries. I will have to spend some time going through the list, removing the duplicate categories. This can be done by selecting the category to be removed. Then clicking on the hamburger menu at the top of the brush tab, and selecting Delete Category. You can choose to delete from just Affinity Photo, or from all the Affinity apps. Another new feature of the brush tool is that, in the Layers Studio tab, when a brush is used, an icon of the brush is added to the layer. Clicking on that icon will drop down a menu where you can reselect the same type and size of brush previously used, even if you use multiple brush heads. Where this feature doesn't quite work is when you use the same brush, but in different sizes. It only remembers the last size used. Also, it doesn't remember the color you used with that brush on that layer. The color will remain set to whatever is the currently selected color. One workaround to this problem is a new feature in the Color Studio tab. It only works if you have the color will option selected. You can select that from the hamburger menu found with the Color tab. . When you use colors, in your project, a small sample swatch will appear next to the color wheel. So, you can easily reselect any color you have previously used. This color feature can also be found in the Swatches tab of both version 1 and 2 of Affinity Photo. Moving on to the Swatches Studio. Not too much seems to have altered, other than the list of stored palettes. In version 1 all the palettes brought or made by the user had an Affinity logo next to them, and the Pantone Colors items had no icon. In version 2, the default palettes now have a chain links icon. Those saved by the user have a cog in a box icon. The Pantone palettes still have no icon. I have duplicates in my current list of palettes, much like I have with the brushes. I have those transferred from version 1 and those I got from my Serif account. I will have to select the palettes I want to remove. Then use the hamburger menu and then delete them. Next, I want to look at layer adjustment presets. These didn't transfer over from version 1 to version 2, so this will mean a bit of hassle getting them into version 2. If I use version 1 and add a stock image from Pexels, and then select the Adjustment Studio. Then, when I select black and white, I have 5 presets in the drop-down section of that option. There's Default, Cold, Warm, Carl 1, Accurate BNW by Affinity Revolution, and Better Start Position. There is no hamburger menu in this tab, so you cannot save them or install them. Nor will it help to right-click a preset icon, as that will only get you a menu to rename or delete the preset. What you need to do is add the required preset to an opened image. Then go to the Layers Studio, right-click the adjustment layer and select Copy. Then go to version 2, and paste via the Edit menu, the adjustment layer above an opened image, or as a child layer. I find that this is best, as it helps show the adjustment is working okay. If the adjustment panel hasn't opened, click on its icon in the Layers Studio. Once the panel is open, click on the button in top left corner, called Add Preset. You just need to name and save the preset. It will be a long drawn-out process to do all your layer adjustment presets, but it's the only way I can see to do this. Also, in version 1, when an adjustment was added, the icon in the Layers panel was a white box, denoting it was an adjustment with a layer mask added. In version 2, each adjustment has its own icon. Yet, it will still have a layer mask attached. But it will not be visible until you paint black or white onto the adjustment layer. Then, the layer mask icon will show as a child layer attached to the adjustment. Lastly, a look at what changes there has been with the layer effects. As I found out in the first video, the Effects Studio tab is now in the Windows menu and has been renamed Quick FX. Plus, now, by default, it isn't one of the studios opened in a panel on the right of the interface. You will have to activate it if you want it. I guess most people won't use the studio from this tab. as it offers less options for each effect, unless you access the advanced options by clicking on the cog icon next to a selected effect. It is far easier to click on the FX icon in the Layer Studio and get direct access to the advanced options panel. The only real change that I can see in the Effects Studio is that you can now add multiple effects of certain options. These options being outline, inner shadow, color overlay, gradient overlay, and outer shadow. I guess most folk will only really use outline and maybe outer shadow multiple times though. If I use the text tool, then type a word in Affinity version 2. Then, I just need to click on the FX icon to open the Layer Effects panel. Next to the names of the previously mentioned options, there is now a plus sign and a cross icon. Clicking on the plus sign will add a new effect, and clicking on the cross icon will remove an effect. I can click and add a tick in the box just before an option's name, like outline, for example. This will make that option active. I will just need to click on the option's name to see the adjustments for that effect. If I change the outline effect's color to red and increase the outline just enough to see the red, then, next add a new outline effect. Select the new effect option, and change its color to blue, and increase its size, enough to see the blue outside the red outline. I could add a third effect, and make the next one orange. I believe the number of effects of the same type you can add is unlimited, but I am not 100% sure. I could then add 2 or 3 outer shadow effects, each time moving the shadow further away while at the same time lowering its intensity. I think that will do for now. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for watching and goodbye.